Picture this. You're sitting at your control station, coffee in hand, checking the morning readings, when suddenly you notice your mouse cursor moving by itself. You watch in horror as someone you can't see, someone who could be anywhere in the world, starts changing critical set points on your water treatment system. The situation isn't a nightmare. This actually happened at a water treatment plant in Florida just 3 years ago. An attacker tried to poison an entire town's water supply, and the only thing that stopped a catastrophe was one alert operator who happened to be watching his screen at exactly the right moment. I'm Alana, and in my 35 years with industrial controls, I've never seen threats like what we're facing today. Cyber attackers aren't just stealing data anymore. They're taking control of the physical systems that keep our civilization running. Power grids, water supplies, manufacturing plants. And if you think your facility is too small, too remote, or too secure to be a target, I'm here to tell you that you're wrong. Before we talk about defending something, we need to understand what we're defending. Let me walk you through what makes Scada systems both incredibly powerful and incredibly vulnerable. Scada stands for Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition, and it's essentially the nervous system of our critical infrastructure. You've got your human-machine interface. That's your window into the process. Your PLCs and RTUs are out in the field doing the actual control work. And connecting it all together are communication networks that often span hundreds or even thousands of miles. These systems control everything from the power grid that's running the lights in this room, to the water treatment plant that made your morning coffee safe to drink, to the manufacturing lines that built the car you drove to work. When I tell you these systems are critical, I mean it literally. Our modern civilization depends on them. But here's the problem. Most of these systems were designed 20 or 30 years ago, back when cybersecurity meant putting a lock on the control room door. They were built for reliability and safety, not for security. And that legacy is catching up with us in a big way. Now that you understand why the issue matters, let me tell you 2 more real stories that should fundamentally change how you think about Scada security. First, Stuxnet, back in 2010. Someone wanted to sabotage Iran's nuclear program, but instead of sending in soldiers or dropping bombs, they sent in code. A USB drive containing malicious software eventually made its way to the PLCs managing the uranium enrichment centrifuges. The genius of this attack was its deception. While the malware was secretly making the centrifuges spin at dangerous speeds, it was simultaneously lying to the operators' screens, showing them that everything was normal. The result? Nearly 1,000 centrifuges were destroyed, physically torn apart by their own operation. This feat proved that a cyber weapon could cause kinetic, real-world damage. The line between digital and physical had been crossed forever. In December 2015, 5 years after Stuxnet, an attack occurred in Ukraine. This attack showed us how cyber warfare could target an entire nation's infrastructure. Attackers spent 6 months patiently mapping the networks of 3 power companies. They started with something as simple as a phishing email. You know, those fake messages that trick someone into clicking a malicious attachment. But when they struck, they took direct control of the Scada operator workstations, an operator watching helplessly as their mouse cursor moved by itself, opening breakers at substation after substation. 230,000 people lost power in the middle of winter. What worsened it was that they simultaneously attacked the phone systems so customers couldn't even report the outage, and they wiped the computer systems to slow down recovery. This wasn't just an attack, it was warfare. Now before you think, that would never happen to us, let me walk you through why your system might be more vulnerable than you realize. First, legacy systems. I see them everywhere I go. PLCs and HMIs running Windows XP, Windows 7, sometimes even older. These systems were built to last 20 years, and that longevity is both their strength and their weakness. The problem is that these systems were designed in an era where cybersecurity wasn't even a consideration. And the protocols they use, Modbus, DNP3, they're essentially having conversations in plain English over the network. No encryption, no authentication, no way to verify that a command is actually coming from who it says it's coming from. Then there's the connectivity problem. For years, our best defense was the air gap, keeping control systems completely isolated from the corporate network and the internet, but business demands change that. Management wants real-time production data for analytics. Engineers need remote access for troubleshooting. Vendors want to monitor equipment remotely. So we connected these networks together, and suddenly that phishing email that hit someone in accounting can become a pathway to your critical control systems. And let's be honest about remote access. I know you need it. I've been there. You've got equipment scattered across hundreds of miles, vendors who need to troubleshoot problems, and operators who sometimes need to check on things from home. But too often, I see the same pattern: commercial remote access software with default passwords, systems directly exposed to the internet, connections left open 24/7, just in case. Each one of these is an open door for an attacker. All right, enough doom and gloom. Let's talk about how to actually defend these systems. The key concept here is called defense in depth. Think of it like a medieval castle with multiple walls, moats, and guard towers. If one defense fails, there are others to back it up. Your first layer is architectural, how you design and segment your network. Network segmentation means dividing your facility's network into smaller, isolated security zones, kind of like having different security clearance levels in a government building. We call this the Purdue model, and it's like organizing your facility into security zones based on how critical and trusted they are. Levels 0 and 1, that's your most critical stuff, your sensors and PLCs directly controlling the process. Level 2 is your Scada master stations and HMIs. Level 3 is site operations, and levels 4 and 5 are your corporate IT networks. Between each of these levels, you need firewalls. But not just any firewalls. You need industrial firewalls that comprehend industrial protocols and have the capability to scrutinize the communications. And here's a critical piece. Create an industrial DMZ between your IT and OT networks. DMZ stands for Demilitarized Zone. Consider it to be a heavily guarded checkpoint, like a customs area at an international border. Any system that needs to be accessed by both networks is in this controlled, monitored buffer zone, where security staff can inspect everything that passes through. Layer 2 is all about controlling who gets in and what they can do. This starts with strong authentication, and I mean really strong. Multi-factor authentication, or MFA, should be mandatory for all remote access and privileged accounts. MFA means requiring 2 or more different types of proof before someone can log in, like a password plus a code from their phone or a password plus a fingerprint. It's like requiring both a key and a security badge to enter a restricted area. Implement role-based access control, or RBAC. This means setting up access permissions based on what people's jobs actually require, like giving different people different keys to different rooms in your facility. Your operators should only see the screens and controls they need to run their processes. Your maintenance technicians should only access the equipment they're responsible for maintaining. Your engineers might have broader access, but only when they need it for their specific projects and only for as long as those projects require it. For remote access, force everyone to connect through a jump host. That's a specially hardened computer that sits in your industrial DMZ and acts like a security checkpoint. Here's how it works. When someone needs remote access, they first connect to this jump host and prove who they are with MFA. Only then can they make a second connection from that jump host to your actual control systems. It's like having a reception desk, where visitors must check in and get an escort before being allowed into secure areas. This feature prevents unknown devices from connecting directly to your critical equipment. Layer 3 focuses on hardening your individual systems and actively monitoring them. Start with a complete asset inventory. You can't protect what you don't know you have. Develop a structured patch management program. Yes, I know patching control systems is scary, trust me, I've been there. Test everything in a lab environment first. For systems that are too old or critical to patch safely, You need what we call compensating controls. Think of it like this. If you can't fix the lock on your door, you post a guard outside instead. In network terms, compensating controls might include virtual patching. That's when you configure your firewall or IDS to block the specific attack patterns that would exploit that unpatched vulnerability. The vulnerability is still there, but you've blocked the pathway that an attacker would use to reach it. Deploy intrusion detection systems, or IDS, that are specifically designed for industrial networks. These are like security guards who speak the language of your equipment. They understand the difference between normal and suspicious industrial communications. Regular IT security tools don't know when a control system command is legitimate versus malicious, but industrial IDS do. They learn what normal communication patterns look like in your facility, then alert you when something deviates from that baseline, like if commands are coming from the wrong computer, or if someone is trying to read data they shouldn't have access to. But here's what I've learned in 35 years. Technology alone won't save you. Your people are either your strongest defense or your weakest link. Security awareness training has to be tailored to your environment. Your operators need to understand how a cyber attack might show up as a process anomaly. Your IT staff need to understand why you can't just run vulnerability scanners against a live PLC. Develop and test your incident response plan, but make it specific to your industrial environment. Practice it with tabletop exercises. These are simulation drills where you gather your response team around a table and walk through realistic attack scenarios step by step, like fire drills but for cyber attacks. What would you do if someone gained access to your HMI? How would you safely shut down processes if needed? Who calls the authorities? Who communicates with management? These tabletop exercises help you work out the kinks before you're dealing with a real emergency, when stress levels are high and every second counts. Now, the threat landscape isn't standing still, and neither should your defenses. Let me give you a glimpse of what's coming. Artificial intelligence is becoming a double-edged sword. Attackers are using AI to automate their reconnaissance, craft more convincing phishing emails, and even develop malware that can adapt and evolve. But we can use AI too, for anomaly detection that can spot subtle changes in process behavior that might indicate an attack. The industrial Internet of Things is exploding. Smart sensors, connected meters, and intelligent devices everywhere. Each one expands your attack surface. You need to segment these aggressively and have a clear lifecycle management process. And more systems are moving to the cloud. That brings benefits: better scalability, easier remote access, and powerful analytics. But it also brings new risks around data privacy, secure connectivity, and dependency on your cloud provider's security. All right, let's make this exercise actionable. Here's what you need to do starting tomorrow. First, conduct an honest assessment of your current security posture. Map your network architecture against the Purdue model. Identify where you have direct connections between IT and OT. Find systems that are directly exposed to the internet. Second, implement multi-factor authentication for all remote access immediately. This one change alone will block the vast majority of opportunistic attacks. Third, create that industrial DMZ I talked about. It's one of the most effective architectural controls you can implement. Fourth, start training your people. Security awareness that's specific to your industrial environment, not generic IT training. And finally, develop and test your incident response plan. Practice scenarios specific to your systems and processes. Here's the bottom line. Can your Scada system survive a cyber attack? With the right defenses, absolutely. But survival isn't guaranteed by default. It has to be engineered with the same rigor and priority as the system's operational function. Remember, security isn't about finding a single perfect solution. It's about building overlapping layers of defense so that when one fails, and eventually one will, others are there to protect your critical systems. The threats are real, they're happening now, and they're only getting more sophisticated. But with the right knowledge and approach, you can build systems that are truly resilient. If this video helped you understand the cybersecurity challenge better, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more practical control insights. Until then, stay safe out there.